Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another beginner's guide. I know you guys have been liking all these guides and I'm going to keep making them. Today, I'm going to teach you all the words you need to know to play Deadlock on a professional level. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a bunch of different words and you're not sure what they mean. So we're going to walk through them one by one to make you guys a little bit smarter and a little bit wiser. So we're going to start with Boons. Boons are essentially just the level up mechanic in the game. It's the same as level in any other MOBA. Whenever you get a certain amount of souls, you level up, you gain one boon. Now this boon can give you an ability unlock or ability points to upgrade your abilities, as well as some base bullet damage, melee damage, spirit power, and base health. So you can hover over here to see what level you are and also what benefits you get from these. Second one is souls. So souls is a simplified mechanic compared to other MOBAs. In this game, both XP and gold is just turned into souls. So in other MOBAs, it's more advanced because there is a separate experience points and gold. In this game, you gain souls, you spend souls by buying items. So it's a little bit simplified. Then we have denies. Denies are when you last hit the enemy creep's orb in the laning stage, because then you can steal the souls from the enemy. Then we have jungle. Jungle is basically all the different neutral creep camps that you can see around here. These ones give you extra souls and you should try to farm them between the waves of the lane. Or later in the game, if you already have someone focusing on the side lane, you can just grind through the jungle. Speaking of side lane, the next one is side lane. So these are the side lanes. Normally, the way we use this phrase is that if you have a carry like Infernus or Seven or Haze, they want to get as much farm as possible. And when you're alone in the lane, you get more souls than if you're with a duo. So it's normal to have them as side laners. It essentially just means that you keep shoving up the waves on the side here. And then once you've shoved out the lane, you start farming the jungle on the way back until the lane comes back. Camp is another word, but it's essentially just the same as jungle. It's just a jungle camp. This is a jungle camp. And this is a jungle camp. And then you have ganking. Ganking is essentially that you try to rotate to another lane while they're still in the laning stage, try to gain an advantage and kill the opponent. It's pretty common that, for instance, someone in the mid lane tries to gank one of the side lanes if they are struggling. Boxing. Boxing is doing this. So basically, these small boxes around the map, they can contain souls, and these statues can also have buffs. So what you can try to do, they spawn at 2 minutes by the way, is that if you've shoved up the wave in your lane, you can instantly try to rotate and try to find different box routes. One of them is, for instance, here, where you just go through this sewer and get all these boxes like this before going back to the lane. If you're ever low in the lane, this can be a good time to buy a healing right, and then you heal yourself and gain increased movement speed, and you can run and do some boxes while you heal back up. It's important, especially in the early game, to try to not lose laning minions though, because most of your souls will come from the troopers in the lane. Speaking of which, the next term is trooper. Troopers are the minions that show up in the lane. Parry. Parry is when someone tries to punch you and you can press F like this. So what happens is that when someone punches you and you successfully parry, they get stunned and they take increased damage from all sources when you parry them. So make sure that if someone tries to heavy melee you, that you press F to try to parry. Bear in mind though, notice that there's a red fist on the right side of my screen. That means that my parry is on cooldown. So after you've parried, if it wasn't successful, you can no longer parry again. So be careful. You might get punched to death. TP. All right, let's find a TP. TP is short for teleporter. You can see them on the signs here. And when you walk into them, you'll see a highlight on the map that tells you where you're gonna go to, and boom, now you're on the other side. Then you have invading. Invading is essentially just a word for trying to steal enemy camps instead of farming your own camps. So for instance, if you have shoved up a lane very far, it's an excellent time to try to steal the jungle from the enemy. You can also see more about this in my beginner's guide. It's essentially more important to take enemy jungles than your own, because you're not only gaining souls, you're also stealing souls from the enemy. So whenever you gain more map control, invading is a very smart thing to do instead of just farming the safe camps on your side of the map. Jump pad. Jump pad or vents are these things here. You walk on them like this and they give you tons of momentum. You can do a lot of cool tricks with them and get to these bridge buffs, for instance. Speaking of bridge buffs, these ones spawn every 5 minutes. You have health, you have spirit, you have gun, and you have movement. You have to heavy melee them like this to get them. So yeah, always pay attention to the match clock at the top. Okay, next up, we have Guardians. Guardians are the first line of defense in any lane. You can see it on the minimap. It's these diamond-shaped thingies here. And then next up, you have the Walkers. They look like this. They are a lot harder to kill. And then you have Base Guardians, which are these ones. Also, by the way, killing these objectives will give you flex slots. More on that in a second. Then we have the Shrine. This is the Shrine. You have to kill these shrines before the Patron can be killed. So this Patron is protected by a shield that these shrines create. So you gotta kill the shrines first. Then you can kill the Patron. After you kill the Patron, he gets downed, and this floor goes down, and the final stage of the game can begin. Flex slots. Flex slots are these last 4 slots here. So you originally have 8 item slots, and then the last 4 are actually unlocked by doing various objectives that you can see here. Destroy 3 enemy guardians, 1 enemy walker, 3 enemy walkers, and the base guardians. So when you get later into the game, it's very important to have good macro so that you can get your flex slots unlocked and have more items. Speaking of which, macro is another term. Macro essentially just means having control over the map as much as possible. If a team has good macro, they make sure that the lanes are never crashing to the towers, and that, for instance, the urn isn't just ran by the enemy for free without you contesting it. So macro is like a huge kind of term for a lot of things, but the main goal of having good macro is to collectively gain more souls than the opponents. Next up, we have split push. Split push is essentially to try to not have everybody fighting in the same spot all the time. So split push can be like, for instance, if there's 3 people fighting here, then I will push on the opposite side of the map. And because there's a lot less teleporters on the map than it was before, split pushing is a very strong way of not only gaining map control, also gaining souls. So if you see that there's a big fight over here and your team doesn't necessarily need you, you can try to split push on the opposite side and maybe take down a guardian or a walker in the process. This is very commonly done by the side laners because number 1, they are strong in a 1v1 because they probably have more souls than the other people. And number 2, you want them to gain even more souls. So you don't really want your 7 or Infernus or Haste to be in the team fights unless they're really needed, because you want them to keep farming and keep gaining a soul advantage over the enemy team. Comeback urn. So a comeback urn, but this is the urn. This is perfect. You can now see this is a comeback urn for the enemy. You'll notice these red candles around the urn tells you that it's a comeback urn. So what this means is that the enemy is now more than 10% behind your team in souls. And the thing that happens with a comeback urn is that it changes the location of where you need to hand it in. So normally when you do the urn, it just gets delivered straight across the other side. But watch what happens when I pick this urn up now. You'll notice the drop-off point is much closer to their base. So this is what's called a comeback mechanic. Essentially, it's meant to give the losing team a fair chance at catching up by delivering this urn. Collapsing. Collapsing is essentially just a term for, let's say that someone is pushing really far up here and then we have some teammates here, some teammates here. It essentially just means that everybody should go for one specific target. So you could say like, collapse on Infernus, he's pushing green. And if that call out is made, then everybody just needs to like flock over to that person and try to kill him. And collapsing is something you usually do when there is one key opponent that is important to kill, like maybe a super farmed 7 or something. Then collapsing on them makes, it basically just means that it's kind of like a 5 versus 1 instead of just a 2 versus 1 or 1 versus 1. Next up, we have Sinner's Sacrifice. Some people also call them slots or punch camps. They are these slot machines with souls in them. When you start punching them, these lights go down, and every time you get a soul, and you have to land the final punch when all the lights are lit up. So the way you do this, you charge up a heavy melee when there's 3 lights remaining, and then you get 4 golden statue buffs. Very, very nice. Next up, we have mid-boss. Mid-boss is the most important objective on the map. He is down here. When you kill this mid-boss, he drops a crystal that you can punch. Okay, let's just kill him. Okay, so now that the mid-boss is dying, the Rejuvenator drops down. And this is where a lot of big team fights happen. Once this Rejuvenator is landed, you can heavy melee it. Now you've gained a buff up here, see that? And it can be punched 3 times. What this means is that
have the
now
Rejuvenator.
your team has 3 instant revives. The first 3 teammates that die will instantly revive. Every mid-boss crystal after the first one will have 4. So this is a very important objective. And he spawns at 10 minutes, and I believe every 7 minutes after he has been killed. In other games like League of Legends, the equivalent would be Baron Neshor, and in Dota he would be called Roshan. Also, fun fact for those who don't know, Neshor is actually Roshan backwards. It's a little detail there from the Dota maker who also was working with League. I love that little fun fact. Next up, we have wave crashing. Wave crashing is when you have an objective like your Guardian and the troopers, the trooper wave is all the way up to the tower. Now, this is something you genuinely want to avoid because you want to have your Guardians and your Walkers be topped off as much as possible. So if your team has good macro, you always want to try to catch each wave before it crashes into the Guardian. So essentially it just means that now the Guardian is tanking the trooper wave instead of you or your minions. Freezing. Freezing is basically a term for, like, let's say that you are in a duo lane and then your laning teammate dies. Now, in the beginning of the game, you always want to share souls with your teammate. You do get more souls from being solo, but you don't get twice as much. So the total amount of souls that you get from your team is more efficient if you and your duo companion shares as many souls as possible. What do you do when he dies? You don't just clear the wave instantly. You try to freeze the lane. And what this means is that you don't shoot the troopers at all. You only focus on last hitting the orbs that comes out of them. Because if you're lucky, that means that the teammate can come back and maybe get 2, 3, or maybe even 4 of the troopers before they die. So essentially, you almost don't lose any souls by dying. You can also parry minions by walking up to them and pressing F. This way, the minions stay healthy and the wave doesn't push up. So yeah. Highly recommend doing this in the laning stage because it's very important that both of you get your ultimates unlocked as soon as possible. Speaking of ultimates, ultimate is the ability on bind number 4 that every hero has. It's like the strongest ability for each hero, and you unlock them at 3,400 souls. So always bear in mind to look at the top to see if the enemy laners have unlocked their ultimate. There will also be an eye under the portrait that tells you whether or not their ult is ready or not. Turtle or turtling is basically, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's essentially just playing very defensive. So it's pretty common to turtle when, for instance, the enemy team just got the mid-boss buff. So when they got the mid-boss buff, you can't really fight out in the open unless you're quite certain you're going to win that fight. The reason for that is that, let's say that we have 3 of these instant revives. We're technically fighting a 9 versus 6. So it's pretty common to turtle in the base until the rejuve buff goes out, which I believe is 4 minutes. Okay, power spike. Power spike is a meta term for that is like every build or every hero has different power spikes. And it's essentially just like, for instance, if you play Shiv, then maybe your big power spike is when you buy Leech because suddenly you are very tanky and you have a lot of lifesteal. Or with 7, it could be like if you play ult 7, your power spike is whenever you have Unstoppable because now you can hop straight into the enemy team and ult and they can't disable you. So it's essentially just terminology for whenever you suddenly have a big spike in your damage or your survivability or your movement speed, anything like that. So for instance, when I play ult Mina, my power spike is whenever I get Spirit Burn. Secret Chop. So Secret Shop is actually a term from Dota because in Dota there is also another shop than the base. And it's down here. You can see them on the map as well. This is the secret shop. You see that little green house there? That's a secret shop. There's also an equivalent one on the opposite side of the map, right under the bridge buffs here. Unlike Dota, these ones have the same items as the base. So you can choose to shop from either, but bear in mind that when you're shopping at the secret shop, you are more likely to run into enemies as well. So for instance, if you're going to buy a big item and you have a lot of unsecured souls from jungling, then it might be safer to go to the base and buy. And speaking of unsecured souls are whenever you kill a jungle camp like this. Notice how I now got unsecured souls here. So these unsecured souls will slowly count down and slowly become secured. When you jungle a lot, you can have 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 unsecured souls. These will drop when you die. And a soul bag will be left on the ground. So, see now I have unsecured souls here. See now there's a small ball on the ground that shows you how many souls that ball has. So bear in mind that when you have a lot of unsecured souls, don't go to the enemy side of the map. Try to play it safe until you bought your item. When you've bought your item, your unsecured souls go away. But you have to do math. So for instance, this always shows the total amount of souls you have. So even if I pick up more unsecured souls now, you'll notice that this one is counting down, but this one is not counting up. That means that your total souls is already included in this one. So that means that if you want to get rid of all your unsecured souls, you have to spend exactly the amount of souls you have. Then all the unsecured souls will disappear. So this is something that is pretty common when you're trying to get your first 6.4k item. Then you try to jungle a fair share. And then when you exactly hit 6.4, you go buy and then you're safe. Okay, next up is trading. Trading is, there's two different types of trading. Trading can be trading kills, which essentially means that if your teammate dies, then you trade him by killing whoever killed him. Pretty simple. But sometimes it can also be trading objectives. So what's fairly common is that if the team is split pushing, right? Then maybe their team is pushing all the way down here and killing the walker. Then we can be trading objectives by going up this lane and taking their walker. So that's like, yeah. So split pushing often results in trading objectives. Then we have dive. Diving is essentially fighting behind someone's tower. So if I'm, for instance, fighting here, right? And then I'm like, guys, I'm diving. Then I do this. I run in, I parry the guardian, and now I'm essentially diving. Now I'm fighting deep behind enemy lines, and it's pretty scary. It's not something you probably should do early game unless you're really sure that you're very strong and kill them. And remember to always parry the guardian when you go in. So whenever you're gonna dive, always press F. Like you can jump dash, parry, and then go past them. Okay, very important. Jump dash, parry, and when you successfully parry him, you'll take a lot less damage from the guardian. Then we have hyperline. Hyperline is whenever you shoot someone who's on a zipline. So what happens is when you shoot someone who's on a zipline, they take extra damage and they get stunned and they fall straight to the ground. That's why ziplining is very scary to do in front of people. You can get extremely cooked if you accidentally get hyperlined. But it's something to be aware of. If someone is trying to escape, then they might do this thing where they quickly attach to the hyperline and then crouch again. If you shoot them while they are going upwards like this, it actually stuns them. Even before you've actually attached to the zipline, you get hyperlined if you get shot. So be super wary about this. If you see someone ziplining, try to shoot them. When you've ziplined for a few seconds, you become immune. This is only at the start of the zipline. I'm not sure if it shows like a glow. Yeah, see that glow there? Once you have that glow, I'm pretty sure you're safe from hyperlining. Yeah. And the last one is speeding. Speeding is when you use your speed boost for the zipline. I press F like this, and now I'm speeding super fast. And you can see the buff over here, how long it lasts for. This is very powerful to use when you just get killed in your lane and the enemies are pushing your guardian, and you want to speed back and trade them before they kill your guardian. Sometimes this can throw your enemy off because you show up in the lane much faster than they anticipated after you died. The speed boost only becomes available after about 6 minutes, and I believe the cooldown is like 300 seconds or something along those lines. Okay, that was it for the Deadlock Dictionary for beginners. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys learned a lot. I stream on Twitch every day. If you want to come by and ask some questions, feel free to do that. And also let me know in the comments down below what other types of guides you would love to see. I play Deadlock every day. I fucking love this game. It's so awesome, and I can't wait to see how big this game is going to be once it comes out. So yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to smash that like button like I smashed your mom. See you guys.